there, students. Welcome to episode 20 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzeroni. My guest this week is Joshua Edalgo, a member of the Green Cohort and a recent graduate of the Harold Ramis Film School. We talk about his newfound appreciation for assistant directing, writing satire, and the ultimate question in life, figuring out what to do next. Let's do this.
So I was originally living in Seattle, Washington. Lived there for a very short time with my wife and I, and we moved out there to basically start our lives. Mm-hmm. And then
from where?
From California. We were living in Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. That's where we met, and that's where we got married. And we moved to Seattle because I always wanted to see the Pacific Northwest, and I always wanted to live out there. And I was essentially moving out there to start my photography career. And I wasn't getting as much work as I originally had anticipated. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started not really liking it started kind of wanting more in the sense of collaboration. Mm-hmm. So I, did a lot of soul searching and kind of stumbled upon the possibly the idea of going back to school, studying film. Mm-hmm. And I eventually found the Harold Ramis Film School because I really like comedy and satire and have had an interest in, doing something within that medium. Yeah. And I applied to the school the first summer that was being advertised. Mm-hmm. And then, started school in later that spring. I was put on the waiting list for a little while. Yeah.
It seemed like there was a few people that went through that.
Yeah.
I was waitlisted for the first class.
And
then didn't kept on holding back with a reapply until later on because I just got a new job and didn't want to just bail on them.
Right.
6 months in.
Yeah, that's kind of we had something very similar where it was we want to accept you for the spring. But I'm hearing back from them basically when the first Orange would have gone around. And we had signed a 6 month lease in Seattle because Washington has this really strange law that any lease you sign over 6 months has to get notarized.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they asked us if we wanted to sign another 6 months. If we had done that, we would have had to break that lease in order to come move here so I could start school. So
you just moved here early? Is that
yeah, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, and so for 6 months I was doing basically odd jobs around Chicago, working at restaurants that I hated. Would never put in my 2 weeks notice, just quit the day of
just
or
would
tell them.
Or wouldn't show up one day.
Yeah, but yeah, so I originally started school here thinking that what I wanted to do was I wanted to direct independent stuff and do the film festival thing. After my first session here, it became very apparent to me that I did not enjoy directing as much as I originally thought I did. I enjoy...
Why is that?
It's a weird beast, man. Directing is a weird beast. You are watching a performance happen, and you're telling the person, "No, do it better. Do it another way." I don't know. It just wasn't something that I gravitated towards, and I became a lot more interested in writing and the other production side of filmmaking.
Yeah. So the back end producing, that sort of work.
Yeah, I AD'd for Maddie's short film, and originally AD, I was I don't want to ever do that job. Yeah, that job seems horrible. But I actually was super surprised of how much I actually enjoyed it, and how surprisingly good I was at it. There's always room for improvements, but originally I never wanted to do that job or have that job on set because I thought I would be bad at it. Yeah. And it turns out that was, fairly, pretty decent at it.
Yeah.
So that's something I still want to like explore more. I want to like explore producing more, and I have a lot of fun doing like gaffing and grip stuff as well.
Yeah, we worked together on Mike Ship's final film. You were doing lights for it.
Yeah, I've done lights for a few times. It's a lot of fun. I definitely hate the like terms like below the line and above the line.
Yeah.
I think it should be instead technical and creative. So that way, like, because I mean, yeah, I understand like gaffing is an electrician job, but I always have had the opinion that you need to know how light is going to hit a certain facial structure, and you also have to be aware of like how colors absorb.
But that then also is to say like creative versus technical would be like taking the creative away from the technical people, or taking the technical away from the creative people.
Yeah.
That's the back and forth battle, because I've heard that same philosophy before.
Really?
That somebody should like change up the labels for it, but I don't know. I get the argument against it.
Yeah, it's not that like I don't mind the structure how it is. I just hate the terminology more or less. Yeah. Above the line, below the line, because film is a very collaborative effort, and I don't know. Those people who are below the line definitely like hold the line, if anything.
Well, now on the other side of the program, so where are you actually what are you trying to do in the long run, or what are you working towards now?
I don't know what I want to do as far as a career. I know that I really love satire, and that's something I want to do more of. I have always been I've always considered myself extremely politically aware, and I think it's something I'm fairly decent at, that I want to get better at, and that I want to work towards more being a satirist instead of like being like solely a comedian or a comedic filmmaker. But satire is kind of a weird beast, because like it's very vague. I think in my opinion. I mean, mostly it's like you'd probably think is a writer or writing. I don't know. There isn't like other than like people who work for like the John Oliver show or Stephen Colbert show. Like those are probably the only like TV show like satirists. And then there's also like stuff that they do on SNL as well. But yeah, that's a direction I want to go more towards into. I definitely want to do less directing and do more writing, and I think I want to go into TV, whereas my original thing I wanted to go into was film. I like doing film, don't get me wrong, and I like working on film sets, but it's a humongous commitment, and I kind of also like hate that like short form film structure isn't like more of a thing.
How so? Like for like miniature stories, kind of stitched together.
Yeah, like what we did for the screening and stuff. Like there is just no money in that, and I think that like short film structure is like the funnest, and I think it's like an area where you can be a little bit more experimental as far as like filming techniques go, and then also with writing as well. Whereas like with film that you would go see and like say like I don't know any cinema, I don't know, there isn't really as I mean I don't know, it's kind of a hard like thing to articulate, but I personally think that like mainstream film is more or less is just a money-making machine, and it isn't really like as artful.
Yeah. But that's kind of the nature of the beast, because it has to be. They got to try and make a buck out of it, otherwise it's not worth a company going into it. So that doing it for the art of it, the only time they ever want to do that, it seems like, is when they want to go after an Academy Award or something like that to bolster the studio or bolster an artist or something like that. I would say the ones that are more adventurous with it now are getting to be like Netflix and Amazon and all those, because they're they'll look for anything that'll get another viewer, and
Right.
so diversifying their offerings is what gets them more people compared to like network, where you have to you don't diversify, you try and go for like the most middle of the road that you can that will get the broadest audience.
Yeah.
Because you need everybody to tune in at the same time. But Netflix, you can have that very niche thing that's going to get another 5% more than other stuff would get. And so that's a plus side, is that there's now those channels where that stuff's becoming more of a possibility.
I totally agree, and that's more of the area I would rather go into versus when I first started going to school. It's like, I'm going to do the independent route. And I still, want to be like independent, but I also want like my stuff to get seen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it's kind of an interesting thing. It's an interesting time to like go into this field right now, especially too, because everyone's trying to figure out how to monetize digital content.
Yeah.
And YouTube has done it, but I feel like there are a lot of smaller companies popping up now trying to like monetize on like, shorts and like and like mini series. And Netflix definitely does have the like rings when it comes to that, but it's only, I don't know, it's how do you say, it's only on one, like you get it at one place, you know what I mean? Whereas like with the whole monetization of digital content,
I think what they're starting to figure out is this, that you need to have, so like the exclusivity stuff started to come into play, where now Netflix only has this set of movies and this set of TV shows, and Hulu's got this set of movies and this set of TV shows, and Amazon, and each of them, there's some overlap for some of those, but for the most part, like each of them kind of silos their selections to draw an audience that way. And the plus side is that kind of fragmentation of who has what opens the door for other smaller groups to come in and try out something new. It failed, but CISO was one that I really liked. A lot of the content that was showing up on there.
I was a subscriber to CISO.
Same here, yeah. And there was some good stuff, and part of it was mixed with like, they had, what was it, all the old Seinfeld episodes. They also had all the Monty Python stuff was on there, and I want to say, I feel like there was another sketch show or something like that they had a bunch of stuff from. But yeah, like that's going to be kind of the future of it, is trying to group things together a little bit more broadly, but try and lock down exclusivity, which I don't know, could be interesting. Apple's about to get into the game. I was just reading an article about them locking in a deal with President Obama for content production, which is, I don't recall ever hearing something like that about a president doing content production.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that story, that they wanted to offer him that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
which
crazy.
Is insane. But no, we'll see where it leads to. So you were doing photography before this. So cinematography wasn't something that interested you?
I think it would be. I still do have like an interest in it, but I don't know. It's a competitive field, and like I still, as vague as this does sound, I want to be a content creator.
Yeah,
and I think getting my foot in the door through like being a cinema photographer is going to be a lot tougher than doing it, let's say, as an AD.
Yeah, because there's people that have been doing it for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many good cinema photographers out there.
Yeah.
So many good ones.
Yeah, there's no shortage of talent, which has been one nice thing about the city, is that there's a ton around, especially with like Columbia, that we can steal people from for different projects and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I still like would, if someone wanted me to shoot their short, I'd totally like take that opportunity immediately. But it's just not something I've really made like a name for myself while I've been here or like in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, there is a humongous appreciation and still like a longing to want to still do like some form of like photography or cinema photography, but I've also like have like developed this love and appreciation for writing and for doing like production work in the sense of producing, aiding,
Yeah.
and then the technical stuff I just find like fun also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got back from a grip house, or from Albuquerque, and when we were in Albuquerque, because my sister-in-law is a film student also, she showed us a grip and lighting house that she's going to be interning at after she's done with school, or basically it was a week later because she was graduating. But yeah, it was just like so much fun, like just playing with camera rigs and lighting and lights. I don't know. That stuff seems fun to me.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
There's always plenty of toys.
yeah.
to go try out something new. So like what? Since you just now wrapped the program, we're recording this 3 weeks after the graduation.
Seems like it's been longer.
Yeah. And so now that on the other side, what did you get most out of the program? Obviously, started to figure out what roles and stuff like that you want to do, but what anything that was unique or surprising or interesting to you that you hadn't considered before?
The biggest takeaway I think the biggest takeaway from this program for me was meeting like as many people as I have, and just like being surrounded by funny and talented people. So I think it's more of like a network thing for me. And then, because it's not just my single cohort, and I know like the cohorts can be kind of cliquey, but like if everyone I've met outside of Green has always been like down to earth, lovely to talk to, very talented in some aspect or another, and there's always like socially like a really fun time to be around. So yeah, networking for sure. I think starting this program, I had a lot more questions answered, and now I'm leaving this program. Those answered questions have became unanswered. So now like I don't know what to do with my life now, but
it's a burden of choice trying to figure out where to go from there.
I always told myself that the stakes are a lot higher for me than most people in my cohort and in this program, because I'm turning 30 in a couple of months and I'm still kind of like trying to figure out my place in life, and I'm a bit of a late bloomer. So I've always told myself like I need to figure out what I need to do. I need to work really hard, and I need to do it. And the figuring out part has been a lot tougher than the other two, of course. In which it's always the case.
Yeah, don't put too much emphasis on the number. I'm 34, so I'm in the same boat you are, because I'm coming at this even later, if anything. Right. But it's still a good experience. I think. At least so far it has been. I'm just now starting term 2. Anything in particular that you created when you were here that you're super proud of?
Just honestly, just getting the page count up. Like I never really saw myself as a writer. I always saw myself more as a visual storyteller. And there was just something so satisfying, like writing something that was in the double digits as far as page count.
What did you do for your final written? Was it did you do the pilot or the feature?
When I was so I'm originally from Stockton, California, and after art school, when I got my bachelor in fine arts, I moved back home to Stockton, and kind of basically wanting to just get involved in the local art scene there, which I did, but the job growth in Stockton is incredibly low. And for me to like do any freelance work out there, which I did have freelance work out there, but it was very minimal, and then B, also like the local newspapers that were out there were never hiring because they already had like someone on payroll who had been working there for like 20 plus years, you know?
And once they got the job, they're never going to leave it.
Yeah, and like, you know, the idea or the possibility of being an assistant was never like within their realms or within the realms of reality, because the photographers never wanted someone following them around like that, and also like they didn't want to put someone on payroll, and I was looking for paid opportunities, because that's why you go to school and get a degree, right? You know, well, I mean, here in film, I'm going to be working for free for a very long time in film and TV, but you know, in photography, it's a little different. Like the degree is supposed to get you paid work, not free labor. But yeah, so I went on a little rant there, but I started working at a liquor store. It was owned by my friend's parents.
Yeah.
It was in like a very questionable part of town, and I worked with all my friends, and there was a night janitor who worked there. His name was Ron, and he was a schizophrenic man who suffered from epilepsy.
Okay.
And was working at the liquor store under the table, getting paid in cigarettes and frozen meals.
Wow.
And I wrote mostly about that experience of my life with him. I changed like the names of the characters, of course, except for his and a few others. But and it was mainly, at one point he lost his health insurance, so he was basically like a ticking time bomb as far as like when he was going to die, because he suffered from horrible epilepsy and would seize like hourly.
Wow.
So like I mostly wrote it in the vein of Clerks meets Do the Right Thing.
Okay.
And I'm still not finished with it. I don't have an ending.
But this is a feature that you're...
Yeah. And it's not a feature I want to get made. I mean, if it does, if I can get the financing for it, I would love to make this movie.
You don't want to get somebody else to make it. You would want to make it yourself.
Yeah. Or put like a trusted, someone who I trusted as far as a director to like want to direct it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like it's more or less going to be like a calling card for like my comedic voice and for like my voice as a satirist and like how I view the world. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a sad story, but it's mostly just the ending part is the one that's a little bit sad, and it's mostly like a buddy film. Yeah, I think, in my opinion.
Okay,
but it is very critical of the American healthcare industry too, also at the same time.
That's something else that they kind of put to us in this program, is like try and have a not even necessarily a social message or impact or something like that, but be aware of that stuff. Like be aware, and if you've got something that can say something while you're making it, it's even more powerful than something that's just funny for the sake of funny and nothing more.
Right.
So that's cool if you've got some sort of an angle to go on with it.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned you did a lot of creative stuff. You went to school for it. Like, have you always been doing creative stuff since you were a kid? Like, are you coming from a creative family? How'd that happen?
I come from a working class family.
Okay.
My mom is a special ed teacher, retired now. My dad is a longshoreman, and but my grandma is an artist and has always been. She's ventured in a bunch of different mediums, doing anywhere from stained glass to fashion design. And so I she's been very influential in my life as far as being an artist goes and getting into art. But I have always I started picking up a camera when I was 7 years old. And I've been a photographer for 16 years. And after I was, I'd moved back to Stockton from college, I was heavily involved in the art scene there, helping curating art shows. And also, me and a couple of friends started a tiny magazine company that was mostly showcasing like artists from the Central Valley, specifically from Stockton.
To make your own, like, print magazine?
Yeah, well, we wouldn't print it ourselves, but we did the layout, the design, and then we would like send it off to a smaller like print company out in Philadelphia, and they would like mail us back all the issues and stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's still like a thing back home, and it's still growing. I'm not sure how many issues they've released since I've left, but it feels great being like a part of, or like creating something like that, and being like one of the founding like people to make that happen.
Started off, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I've always been involved in the creative fields.
Yeah,
for sure.
And is that do you still do other stuff beyond just the film work?
Right now, it's all film.
All film.
All film, all comedy, all satire. Like that's all my focus is on right now. Yeah, I don't think I could really like put anything else on my plate at this point.
So what is on your plate? What are you currently working on? Obviously, you still got the feature that you're still writing through.
Yeah, I got 2 features I'm writing through, and I got a sketch packet I'm basically working on as well. I'm not sure if I'll ever need it, but as something to have, it's a good thing to do. And I will shortly start doing spec scripts.
Okay.
And I think spec scripts are becoming less and less important in the industry.
It sounds like they want to really more see something creative,
right?
Something that you generated from scratch as opposed to a spec,
right? But if there's some there are some like internships who will still like ask for spec scripts, just because if you're applying for an internship for a specific channel, they just want to see that you can write in the voice of the shows that they produce.
So
you
can pick up on the cues and the dynamics within a show and work from that same angle.
Right, totally. So yeah, that's what I got going on. I'm also working with 2 local stand-up comedians. One who I'm really good friends with. I actually used to work with him in that liquor store I was telling you about. It's
back in California.
Yeah, back in California.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Both ended up in Chicago, or
yeah. We
cool.
actually kind of like found our love for comedy like together like right at the same time. So it's interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna be filming some sketches that him and his buddy have written, and they want videotaped. I also am...
Videotaped is such an old-fashioned word.
Yeah, I know. Videotaped.
Although we say film, too, and we're
filmed.
Digital everything. But nobody's going to go digital something.
They want me to digitally record. So, yeah, I got that. And then I'm trying to, like, get some short work done. I'm trying to write another short and trying to produce it. My wife actually wants to direct a short. So we're figuring out, because she's a writer too.
Okay. And
she wants to explore more creative mediums to kind of like help with her like writing more, as far as like being productive as a writer. And she's done improv classes and loved it, and now she wants to like try out directing, like just like a one. I don't know if it's like she wants to do a full on like 10-minute short, or if it's like just a 1 to 2 minute sketch. But
yeah.
So trying to do something with that. Or
well, there's some places around here where we just went with a few people to the video show last night. And so it's just a local guy who makes sketches and videos and stuff like that, and started putting together his own monthly show of random video content. So you can submit through, as long as it's under 5 minutes. They'll screen pretty much anything. I mean, the guy's doing some filtering as far as what is interesting for it, but it's a pretty loose filter. It's mostly just the opportunity to get your stuff shown up in front of people. It was really fun. There's some weird and funny and wonderful stuff in the city outside, because there were a bunch of Harold Ramis people there, but it wasn't. I mean, it was a mix. There were other people there that aren't involved in the program at all. I don't even think are in film school, or just kind of the weekend warrior types doing extra stuff.
Is that a monthly thing?
Yeah, that one's a monthly show. The next one I think is I want to say 17th of June, which is before. That's actually before this episode will go up. But yeah, they do it monthly. If you search Facebook for the video show, you can probably track them down and find additional shows that are going up. And then there's this thing, Cold Reads Hot Scripts, that Zach Kinnaird puts up for that you can go get your script cold read by some actors, or if you're an actor looking for stuff to work on, it's a good chance to go, see some new materials, meet some new directors, meet other actors, find out what other stuff they're working on. So there's cool stuff out here to be able to to kind of keep going with that even outside of the program.
That was like one thing too I was really scared of is at the end of the program it's just gonna basically like plateau and not do anything. It's a humongous fear of mine, but I've been really good about keeping myself productive. So
always making something new.
Yeah, the word of advice was to take a 6-week break after you're done. Mm-hmm. I've done like a week and a half, not like a full week and a half. I've been working also too, like at a grocery store, but like, I want to start getting back into the swing of things. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, like, I don't know.
Step away, kind of evaluate what you've got.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I just want to put myself to work. Got to put in the 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so if people want to try and track you down, see what stuff you're currently working on, any social media or any links, places they can find you?
Facebook, Twitter. Twitter is Mr. Edalgo.
Mr. Written out or just MR?
Oh, written out.
Out.
Yeah. And then, I'm not really big on social media, but if you ever wanted to shoot me an email and employ me, or you need an AD or a producer, or you just want your script to be read, I'm your guy. JMEDALGO@gmail. JMEDALGO@gmail.
I like that you said that twice because people are going to have so much trouble just hitting the rewind button for 10 seconds.
I'm old school, man. That's
awesome.
What you always do on a voice messaging system.
Yeah, if you're going to leave a voicemail, you always say it twice.
Yeah.
That way if there's any glitch in the connection.
Any glitch. Any glitch.
Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, not really.
Not really.
Yeah, thanks for this.
No worries, man. I appreciate having you on.
Thank you so much.
That was Joshua Edalgo. Thanks to Joshua and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. The song on this week's episode was What's Real by the Great Heights Band off their new album Rad-Pop, available now on iTunes and Google Play. This show was recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzeroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have questions or comments, send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And be sure to check out some of my and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com. See you all next week. Class dismissed!